profound effect on your career and your philosophy. And I've been thinking a lot about this question that you raise in some of your memos about how we can prepare for these extreme exogenous events, whether it's a market crash or a pandemic or a war or whatever it might be, given that we can't predict them. And you wrote in one of your memos, I think it was the second of your memos on uncertainty in 2020, we can do so by recognizing that they will inevitably occur and by making our portfolios more cautious when economic developments and investor behavior render markets more vulnerable to damage from untoward events. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think this whole question of how to deal with uncertainty is at the absolute core of what you do as an investor.
Well, first of all, one of the great sayings is there are two kinds of people who lose money in the market: the people who know nothing and the people who know everything. So I hope I never know nothing, but I never think I know everything. And specifically, I believe that the macro future is unpredictable. But there are things that can give us a hint at what lies ahead. So I wrote my second book, Mastering the Market Cycle, published in 2018, and it talked about tendencies. And I say, we never know what the market's going to do, but we can have a feeling for when its tendency will be to do well or its tendency will be to do poorly. And its tendency will largely be determined by where we are in the cycle. So when things have been going great and prices have been rising, as you say, for 16 years, and PE ratios are high and bond yield spreads, which are a barometer of fear, are narrow, we can assess that the tendency of the market may be to do less well and act accordingly. You don't have to make any predictions. None of those 5 calls I talked about a little while ago was based on a prediction. It was based on an observation. And what I say, William, is we never know where we're going. We sure as hell ought to know where we are. And are prices and valuations high? Is risk being ignored? Are people acting in an exuberant, buoyant way? These are the questions that can tell you what the odds are, even though you don't know what the future holds. And I never cared for the title of that book. I had a more erudite title in mind. I thought Mastering the Market Cycle was a little cheesy, but it's what the publisher wanted because they thought they'd sell more books. But I like the subtitle of the book. And of course, subtitles don't get much attention. But the subtitle of that book was Getting the Odds on Your Side. You never know what's going to happen. You can have a sense sometimes for what the odds of a certain event are. And when the market is high in its cycle, the odds are against you. And when it's low in a cycle, the odds are in your favor. But, the odds can be in your favor and you can lose money for the next year or 2 or 3 and vice versa.
I think when I wrote my book,